Hello, everybody. I think I'm doing this live thing correctly. Let's see if Elena, how do we add her? Let's add her. Perfect. I'm like all close to my camera. Did I do it right? Let's see.
Hello, Alyssa.
Hi. I was like,
Here we go.
am I
We
doing
both
this
got our
right?
heads sideways. We're like looking at the screen, being like, the phone's sideways. What's going on?
How are you?
I'm good. It's good to like officially meet you. I was so inspired to hear about your pregnancy
Oh
and
my
your
goodness. I was
journey. So I'm
like,
excited to connect.
I know the timing is going to line between, motherhood, all the new things, you moving, everything.
Yeah.
Hi, hey Angelo. One of my business partners and best friends joined.
Oh, beautiful.
So where are you
Beautiful.
at in the world?
I'm in Slocan Valley in Canada.
Oh my goodness, all the way in Canada.
Yeah, so it's
It's
super beautiful.
Oh
We just
my
got
goodness.
forest all
It's
around.
so pretty. I was like,
Yeah.
where can I channel, my vibes? And I'm like, my rose garden.
Yeah.
So it looks
Oh,
like
look, so you got roses in the backyard? That's so
yeah,
beautiful.
they just started blooming. It's definitely been a labor of love. We moved into this spot at the beginning of the pandemic, and the backyard was literally like all dirt. So we're slowly like, oh my god, it's awful. And you could tell like the soil definitely had some glyphosate and some Roundup in it, just by like the um, the dryness of it, the color of it. Nothing grows in it. Everything keeps dying. So we're nourishing it from the bottom up, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I've got still got like so much dirt under my fingernails from yesterday. I was digging in the garden.
I love it.
And I've really got a beautiful understanding of like topsoil that hasn't been messed with, like they basically have just taken chunks of this like natural forest behind me and just pushed it to the side to make the roads where we drove in and parked our RV and stuff. And yeah, you can see like the top 4 inches are just this like root network with like dirt and microbes. And it's so
Ah,
black. It's like nothing's attached to the ground anymore, but like this layer is like its own independent layer. You can literally pick it up and just move it. I actually grabbed like big chunks of moss and just picked
that's
them up and moved them
so
over.
cool.
It's incredible to see. And so yeah, we're
It's
building a garden here, but from the opposite spectrum.
nice. That's so awesome. Well, I hope your move went well.
Yeah, yeah, it's been really good. We're like 4 days in, settling in. We've got really great neighbors. I've given more hugs in the last like 3 days than I have in the last 6 months. So
Oh
I'm
my
really happy about
goodness. I think more than ever now, we take hugs for granted. You know?
that. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
But let's dig
Gosh.
in here. Let's get this going.
Yeah. So tell me about this. So I'm in preconception. You're in post-conception. I've got a 10-year-old as well. But I've been really diving in that sort of new mama, first time mama sort of brain. Like, what is it that I need to know? Which is how I came across sort of all this
Uh-huh.
information about glyphosate and how that impacts the guts. And I just love to hear some of like your journey and your story about how you ended up, your pregnancy and what that
Where I
journey of
am.
nourishing yourself was like.
Okay, awesome. Well, I guess I'll start from the beginning. So, about, I think now 7 years ago, um, I was really in a low vibrational space. I was not happy with myself. I was technically obese. I felt so lost. I didn't love myself. I didn't honor myself. I was allowing people in 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 an intimate space within me that didn't deserve it. And
Been there, done that. Yep.
I think we all kind of go through that as men and women. We don't even know what standards are, but unless we're taught them or we learn them. But
Yep. Learn them the hard way.
I don't know what it was, but I had gotten to this point where I looked at myself in the mirror and I was so unhappy with myself, like everything about me. And that was actually at the moment that I met my husband. And at the time, we both were just in this journey of self-love and we didn't want to rush into anything. And at that moment, I really started to work on myself. I started to look at myself in the mirror and meet myself exactly where I was. I was like, okay, what do I need to do to get my life together, to be where I want to be in this lifetime, to have what I want to have in this lifetime? So I really started to look into veganism. I really started to look into medicinal medicines, medicinal cannabis, CBD.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
you know, getting back into shape, like working out, getting sunshine, drinking proper nutrition and eating proper nutrition and drinking quality water. And
Yeah.
um, 3 years into our relationship, we knew that we were it for each other. And through miscarriages and through time after time of not conceiving, I went to my OB and I was like, okay, what's the scoop? You know, I've started this journey. Yes, we're not married yet, but we want children. I've had miscarriages. What's the deal? And she was honest with me, and she said, as a Western medicine doctor, I can only do what I've been taught in school to do, which is prescribe you birth control because it'll control your hormones. And I'm like, okay.
That
And
doesn't even make sense. That doesn't even
no,
make sense.
it's literally
I'm
the
looking for a
opposite.
fertility journey. Here's some birth control. You're like,
Right, right. And at the time, I was so desperate at the time, you know, because
yeah,
when you're told that you cannot have children, you wouldn't have children, you wouldn't be able to hold full-term pregnancy, it's devastating because as women, we were literally created to bear a child, you know, and it's a blessing. So hearing that, and not only hearing it, but I know and I knew at the time that it's what I was meant to be. Like I was meant to be the portal between, you know, the spiritual realm and the physical realm, right? I just knew it in my soul. So I was like, F that. That's not true. What do I need to do to get there? And I tried the birth control and I lost my marbles. Every side effect I had. I lost hair. I lost 12 pounds in 5 days. I was like, it was gnarly. I was blacking in and out. I was bipolar. Like my husband at the time, we were engaged, and he was like, I'm not saying this to press buttons, and I'm saying this because I love you, but something's wrong with you. And I was like, okay. And for my husband to tell me that is like, he's being for real, you know?
yeah,
So
yeah.
I got off birth control. I had a detox from it, and that's when I really dug deeper. I dug deeper into the system. I dug deeper into birth control. I dug deeper into, you know, glyphosate poisoning and what the effects on the reproductive system, and all of what that encompasses. I introduced the superfoods into my life, and February, March, April, May, June, 4 months later, after our wedding in September of 17, I got pregnant with my son. And that's what really sparked my journey with where I am now. There's no such thing as we can never. There's no such thing as we can't, especially us as beings, what we were created for. Like, we are infinite beings, right? But our bodies are a machine, and they were created to do wondrous things. And society and the system and what it has to offer us has stripped us of those powers. And it really just it comes down to the root of getting back to the basics of things and getting the control of our health, our true health, and knowing what is true health and what is conditioned health. You know, what we learned in health class in, say, high school or junior high, it's a fraction, like the smallest decimal point of truth of what really is. And now
I mean, people look at health and they're like, oh yeah, like I'm healthy, I don't have cancer. And you're like, okay, but how are your energy levels? Like,
right.
do you treat life with enthusiasm? You know, I remember when I was going through my mental health journey and looking at superfoods as a as a response to that, just being like, oh, okay, so most people are like functioning, and maybe I'm not functioning, but I don't think I actually want to function. I think I want to thrive. You know,
Right.
it's like it's different. Like I don't want to just be able to like tune out my emotions and be an automaton. Like that's not my goal of like health and good health and feeling good in my body. It's like so much more than that. So much
Absolutely.
more than like just functioning, right?
And
The healthy is like
yeah,
so
and
small.
as a Western medicinal society, they're pumping us in every capacity with pharmaceuticals. It's
Yeah.
in our meats, it's in our soils, it's in our water, it's in our air, it's literally in every capacity, and it's kind of terrifying. But when we ground ourselves and like, okay, let me just start here, let me just start now, the
Yeah.
journey can be challenging because it challenges us on everything we've been taught to up until this point in our life. You know, like
Yeah.
you literally have to unlearn everything and relearn everything of what the truth actually is.
This
Um,
is comfort food. This is clean water. This is healthy air. This is
right,
healthy soil. This is how food is grown. This is what
right.
thriving feels like. This is what feeling nutrient like dense feels like. This is what cravings are and aren't. You know, it turns
Right.
out you're not craving most of the stuff you think you are. You're actually, it's just like bugs dying off in your
Oh
guts,
my
being like, feed
gosh.
me, please, or I'll die. You're like, that is not what we want to be driving our source of wisdom,
No.
like at all, you know. So it really it takes such an unlearning, but it's such a worthwhile journey.
Absolutely. Like in every illness, every disease, the root of it, the root of everything. Like even my husband, for example, he is a veteran, and he has mental or not mental. I'm mom braining hard right now. he
Okay,
was
like PTSD or something.
he was diagnosed with bipolar 2 disorder,
Okay.
and um, the moment he did the cleanse, he completed the 30-day ultimate lifestyle transformation. Everything switched. Everything. So it really is. It's not just about obesity. It's not just weight. It's not just, looking good. It's like you said, it's like functioning, thriving, living, and being our absolute true best inward and outward, and on a cellular level, on a spiritual level, on a mental level, on an emotional level, like every level, instead of just being this robot within the system to go to work, make money, come home, cook and eat 3 times a day, make sure you drink your water, make sure you get some sunshine and work out, and that's about it. There's so much more to this life.
Yeah. Mm,
It's crazy.
mm. Oh my God. And that's so inspiring to hear. Like I don't hear I was diagnosed with bipolar way back
Yeah.
after the birth of my son. Sort of my postpartum depression was like both depression and like mania, you know, like laughing hysterically and then sobbing hysterically and going back and forth. And it took a number of years to be like, oh, this isn't normal. This is like an issue. But I never turned to Western medical. I was always looking, you know, my sister had been on antidepressants for a little bit when I was in a teen phase. She was younger than I was, and she just had such horrible things to say about it. You know, felt like her whole system was shutting down, which is part of what it does. It's like, let's numb you out to the point where you can't notice that you have a problem. Same with the birth control pill. It's like, let's put you on hormones that just sort of like flatten you out so you don't actually know what it feels like to feel desire, to feel like, like gimme, you know, or to
Right.
feel that like that peacefulness and that like intensity of like that moon time coming in of just, oh, like I feel like a space cadet right now because I'm connected to the cosmos in a really powerful
Absolutely.
way because of my hormones, you know, and that's not a bad thing. It's like a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And so it's so good to hear that, like, you know, your husband's journey of that uncovery of recovering from that bipolar too, because it's such an untalked about journey. And depression gets a lot of airtime. Schizophrenia gets a lot of airtime. Postpartum depression gets a lot of airtime. But like people who are in that bipolar category, often they come across as like pretty good functioning. If they can hide that depression, if they can, you know, mania is like celebrated in a lot of ways. Like I remember talking to my Western medical doctor at some point, and I was like, okay, so I really want to aim for like hypomania, which is like just below making crazy decisions, but full of lots of energy. She goes, that's how most of us got through med school. I was like, You're telling me most doctors are bipolar in some shape or form and aiming for hypomania? Like, what did you just say to me? Like, you know, it's like, ah, whoa, hold
Right.
on, you know?
And then
It's like,
that's
so
insanity. Like total
that's
insanity.
insanity. It's like going to a crazy person asking for medical advice, being like, I can't function. And she's like, I kind of hate life. I can't function either, but just, you know, take some of
Here.
these pills and you'll get to where
Right.
I'm going. And it's like,
Right.
oh, you know, so when we can start talking about like removing those things that are in the gut, like the biofilm, the mucoid plaque, the glyphosate, and all of that, removing that stuff, and then moving to a place where we've got healthful things going in. We can actually digest the nutrients that are going into our body. We're not putting inflammatory foods in. The body's got so much space and time then. Like it's like cutting TV out of your diet. You're like, oh my God, if I stop watching all of those commercials, even cutting commercials out of your diet, you know, like
Literally.
your consciousness diet. It's like literally like, oh my God, how you gain back like an hour a day or something like
Oh
that
my
just
gosh.
from not dealing with the crap anymore. And when we look at the foods that the ultimate lifestyle transformation has us take out, it's like, oh yeah, of course we have more energy. Our body's running cleaner. The detox organs actually have the ability to detox. Like we're supporting that whole process and just absolutely really phenomenal.
And
So what else did your husband notice and what else did you notice in that journey?
well, I had been with him since he was in the military, and then when he got out of the
Okay.
military, so I've seen him at every peak and every valley of his journey
Mm,
of his mental health,
yeah.
and being because being a veteran, you are in the system. You know, the
Yeah.
only way to obtain any help is to abide by the system or to manipulate the system in which you can. And for the longest time, because he was so conditioned as a veteran and as, you know, a military member, he
Yeah.
couldn't see the world that I believed in. You know, the
Mm,
holistic part of things, the
yeah.
what God created, what the universe has to offer us. That's true. The true medicine. That's how we get back to our basics and feel free and heal. Um, and it was really difficult for me to honor that. Really difficult
Hmm.
because I'm a Capricorn one. So I'm like super hard headed when I know things that are factual. I'm like, no, listen, okay, we're going, come on, hurry, follow me. But to, to honor him and meet him where he was and allow him to have his own journey, I would say was the most challenging part, but the most also rewarding part because
Mm,
it it was aligning the actions and the changes that he was choosing to do and follow of how I was leading our family, the two of us at the time, and him to be like, okay, this is working, this is real, and being able to see things for what they are. Because in regards to, you know, the VA and the veterans, they want to keep our veterans ill. They want to keep our veterans sick because there's no money in them being healed, just like our Western medicine society, you know? So um,
mm,
he finished the ultimate lifestyle transformation, and I saw him just be able to focus more, be able
mm,
to not have those manic depression modes because there's different types of bipolar, right? There's like
yeah.
um, manic depressive or manic, I forget what the other one is, but he was more on the manic depressive side. And
Yeah, they talk about it as like big D or little d,
right,
big M or little m, right? So like I would tend towards like big M,
okay,
small d, and then I switch back and I go like
right,
it's seasonal for me, right? But like everybody's different, so
right.
yeah.
And we really dug into like meditation, yoga, and I was able to see him not be able to function on a daily basis and like have goals and strive and like be able to
Mm,
get out of his own head to be like, he's up before me, he's getting things ready for the day, he's got his plan with his business, he's, you know, finding lifestyle coaches that can teach him to work through the traumas that he's endured and rewire his brain to have a specific mindset. Like seeing him flourish as an individual has been so great. And
mm,
being an African American himself, that culture and him relearning the food system, right, was and still is a challenge because it's like our religion, you know, it's what we're born into.
Yeah, absolutely. Food is the formation of culture. It's like a literally cultured foods, right? Like foods that are fermented is like a culture. It's like a literal like biome shift. And so when we're eating, foods of our traditional culture, which is like the standard American diet for a lot of people,
Right.
or some variation thereof, it's like that is the culture. You're literally saying like F you to the thing that formed your cells. Like,
Right.
wow, that's an intense journey.
Right.
Yeah,
And
so
he's found what the meaning of soul food truly means. Not what this not what the system has created what soul food means. Because there's a reason why there's specific food groups opposed or with each individual culture, you know? Like there's only certain foods available to African Americans because of the slavery days, you know? So that was embedded in their culture from the beginning. And for them to break that, or for any culture to break that, is like having you break up with yourself, which is not a lot of us can do.
your identity.
Absolutely.
In NLP, they talk about like identity, like there's belief level change work, and then there's like habit and behavior change work, but then there's identity level change work.
Right.
And that is like, wow, that is the deepest, most profound work
Right.
to do.
And
there's such a source of liberation when you do it.
Absolutely. And there's so, even myself, you know, all of us, no matter who we are, we identify with so much, whether it's our skin color, whether it's where we're from, whether it's the language that we speak, whether we identify with so much because we've been conditioned to believe that labels are what define us, right? To feel, to identify with something. But we are infinite beings. We're not attached to anything. We are one with all. The moon, the sun, the water, the earth, the air, like everything, you know? And seeing him, it's an honor to be a part of that journey while having my own as well. So it's and when we talk about these things, when we talk about infertility, when we talk about mental health, when we talk about the food system, this is how we break generational curses. This is how we truly heal people from the inside out, and it's not even just from a physical aspect, you know, it's so much deeper.
Yes, absolutely. I love that, intergenerational curses, because one of my missions is like enlighten families, and I absolutely believe that like with conscious parenting, conscious collaboration between parents, we can really release all of those past karmic ties and create a radically different generation, in the same way that our generation didn't experience physical, beatings in the same way as my parents' generation. I know some people in our age group are still dealing with that, and that's challenging for them. But predominantly, culturally, we did shift away from that, and we're now in a space of moving into an enlightenment time, moving away from sort of identification with the 3D reality in such a intense way, and moving into a space where we can see those intergenerational patterns. Like Alex, when we encounter, my son is 10, and just seeing like him being like, whoa, like he sings this little song about being woke. It's like, gosh, I sang songs about like jelly beans and stuff, know? And he's got this idea. He's like, oh, that person seemed like they were really stuck in their personal trauma, Mom. I go, absolutely. They did seem like they were really stuck in that, And these are the kind of conversations where after 10 years of him listening to me talk about this stuff, as he walked me through my awakening journey, because that started after I got pregnant, it's like, oh, like this really is possible. And, from the place that we're at now, like being in that awakened field and calling in children from there, like, wow, like that's where I'm really excited about what's possible in terms of helping other people with their conception journeys. Because there's so much, they talk about time going faster now, or the awakening journey, like accelerating. It's like, gosh, there are people out there who can go through the journey I went through in 10 years. They can go from being like bipolar, lost, eating crap food, to eating like incredible, powerful, nutrient dense, biome healing food in 30 days or 90 days, and not have to have it take 10 years. And it's just like, holy shit, if I could condense all of that heartache and trauma and cut all that out and just give them the good stuff, Like, yeah, they're gonna have their own stuff come up and journeys, but like, you can also give tools on how to deal with that. It's like, like so profound, so powerful.
It's
Like that's what
such a
we're.
rad
That's what
feeling.
I'm here to do. That's what you're here to do. It's such a good feeling to see
How
people
old
do
is
that.
your eldest?
He's 10. Yeah, so I've got 10 and then a big gap, and we're starting again because I had to go find the right guy and do my own inner healing journey of getting rid of the
Right.
codependence and
It's all a part of the process.
all that stuff, right? I was like, he was 3, and I was like, so where's my next baby? And I was like, oh, I looked at my partner at the time. I was like, there's no babies happening here.
Yeah, I know.
Like, took me about
Sending
6
you with
more to like,
love.
yeah, yeah. Took me about 6 more to like exit all those patterns out and be like, nope, nope. Actually, what I need is this, and a big
Right,
list, and
right.
listening to my mind as well as my heart, as well as my vagina. You know.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's something that I learned myself. Also, I can sit back to each person I allowed, and I'm like, okay, okay, and they were also a reflection of what was still healing within myself, you know,
Absolutely,
and
absolutely.
where both of us are now, and it's the beautiful part of having children that are younger. You have a 10-year-old and you're starting over yourself, is the journey that you've made with him and the journey that
Yeah.
you've made with yourself. It's clear and evident with that conversation that he had with you that this is, we're creating a whole breed of new individuals who are going to move mountains in this lifetime. And even though in our short lifetime thus far, um, we've made our mistakes and we've come to where we are, it's purpose. You know, without that
Mm-hmm.
journey, we wouldn't be where we are, and we wouldn't have the impact that we have on not only ourselves first and foremost, but our children. And it's such a gratifying thing. And to hear like your son who's 10, because let's be honest, most 10-year-olds or your typical 10-year-old wouldn't, they wouldn't say those things. That wouldn't even be a thought process in their head. They'd be like, I think she's speaking Spanish. You know, like they wouldn't,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
wouldn't, there wouldn't even be like a connection. And kudos to you, because it really shows like your journey. So you're starting over.
Yeah.
You're getting ready. You're planning. You're enjoying the ride. Okay,
Oh yeah.
because that's,
Yeah.
I
Oh
think
my
that's,
gosh.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Oh, it's just been such a journey too. Like, it was January that we took I had an IUD and I thought they were like the bee's knees in terms of contraception because I didn't have to think about it. Turns out my depression went away when I took my IUD out.
Whoa.
Turns out having the man in my vagina, in my uterus, was impacting how I related with myself and my consciousness. It's like, duh, obviously, right? But I was so indoctrinated into that, like, birth control. You know, I'm like 12 years old, life skills class or whatever. And it's like, don't get pregnant or you'll ruin your life or you'll get an STD. Here's 6 options. They all involve some sort of Western medical. And learning the fertility awareness method, going through a couple of months of being really anxious about it and being like, I need to track my cycle and all the temperatures and checking my fluids and being like, this is so weird, you know, and really like learning that as like a 34-year-old woman, like, oh my God, it's okay for me to put my fingers in my vagina to gain information about my body. Like, I don't need to ask somebody else how to do that. I don't need to put pills in my mouth to make
Right.
my fertility go away. And I kind of thought we would get pregnant like right away as soon as we stopped having that Western medical thing in. But turns out every month as my ovulation's happening, I'm very aware of when that's happening. I've consciously said no to the souls who are there because I'm like, I want to do some more detox first, guys. Like, we want you to have the cleanest, clearest, most beautiful bodies to come into. Like, we got to clear out some stuff first.
Yeah.
I felt them, like, especially during that ovulation time. You're like, oh, could be it, you know, and it's like, let's make choices that say no to that. Let's make choices that say like, hold up, you know, come back in like June, because that's when we're aiming for, you know, we'll see you in June. And going through that process of like just letting the body detox, putting those superfoods in, putting the, like those like toxin catchers into the body so that it's all cleaning out. It's like, gosh, like what an incredible journey. And then re-feeling that cycle. I hadn't had a cycle with that wasn't hormonally impacted in some way, shape, or form for like 20 years.
Oh my goodness.
Like since I was 15 and I became sexually active, I had
Yeah.
more years of hormonally regulated cycles, or I was using a non-hormonal copper IUD because I was like, that's a better option, causing depression, right? That I actually got a chance to get in touch with my cycle. I'm like, gosh, cycles are lovely. They're
Right.
beautiful. Like, and to go through that journey also of being scared of pregnancy to like wanting it. Like every cycle I go through, there's like another layer coming away of like, I'm actually not scared of this. I'm actually looking forward to it. I'm still taking actions that say probably I won't get pregnant based on the actions that I'm taking, but like, and it's not only been a journey of like that conception journey, but also like my body and being like, oh, I can trust the desires of my body. I can trust the desires of my soul. Like I've wanted this for like 10 years since my first son was conceived. I was like, gonna be more babies that come through this body. I know it,
Right.
And it's just like getting in touch with that and going like, oh, I can trust that feeling after 10 years of being like, not this guy, not this guy, not this guy. Like everything outside of me sort of being out of whack for having that to happen. It's like, gosh, the outsides are lined up. Now I have to do that final sort of like sit up real straight, get my head tuned in, and like really move into that last phases of me really aligning. Gosh, it's an incredible journey.
That's so
Absolutely been an
beautiful.
incredible
And
journey.
hearing, I can relate so much to you. And I think as women, and most of us that are on, most of our viewers now are women. And I think I can speak for all of us. There's so much fear implemented into us in order to control that that we're feared. We're fearful of our cycle. We're fearful of what our temple, we as women were created for, to bear children. We're fearful of, in some cultures, most cultures, the act of sex. We don't talk about what it truly is. It's an energy exchange. It's an energy exchange to co-create. Like
Between two people and the divine.
absolutely. It's like we're so much fear is embedded into us in order for them to be able to control it. And I have my own opinions about that because most of the world is ran by men, and I feel like they know the power that we hold, and it's all purpose to be able to control. But that's just my own opinion. We can get into that another time. My girl Lulu, she's still watching this. Her and I had a conversation yesterday that just really blew my mind. I'm going to connect you with her because I think you would love her. She's an amazing woman. But so many women, we think that the answer is birth control, when really the answer is just to be completely aligned and in tune with who we are and what our body has to offer us, and the journey that it gives us through every cycle of not just our moon cycle, but each day. Because as women, our hormones are changing every single day. There's nothing consistent about us. Nothing.
We are the giant mystery, even
Right.
to ourselves.
Right. And there's a purpose behind everything, but we've been taught that it's bad, or we're being the B word, or oh, she's moody, she's on her period. Okay, yeah, I am, but do you want to know why? Like
I know why.
Absolutely. And to be in tune with that is such a beautiful thing. And to hear you like start your journey all over again, and to see like your excitement through your words is so cool, because there's so many women who are truly suffering. There's so many women who, just our stories in themselves, trying to get pregnant for 3 years and having miscarriage after miscarriage, not getting pregnant, endometriosis, and then you and your journey, all those things. It's a journey, but there's solutions. There's answers.
And they aren't in pills.
No,
they aren't in like Western medical pills at all.
No, it's us. It's ourselves, and connecting with the right people that will guide you and lead you to what you want to achieve in this life based off of their own journey. You know, I have so many women who I am so blessed to be connected with now that are just now starting their fertility journey, and they trust my word because of my own, and it's such a blessing, and it's a reminder that our journeys and our struggles and our traumas in this life, even though they can have a certain vibration attached to it, they're purpose. And with our stories being shared, we heal the masses based just on our hearts first, you know, not feeling alone, knowing that we're not alone, knowing that there is answers, and that we can have anything and everything we want out of this life. It just takes reflecting back on ourselves.
I know, and all those ladies who are starting their fertility journey, it's just like, gosh, like, give me 3 months of your life. Give me 3 months of your trust and like willingness. Absolutely. Woo. Like, you'll be pregnant by the end of that 3 months. Let's connect with your baby's soul. Let's connect with the Starseed Council. Let's connect with like some high density nutrition and cleaning out your guts. Let's do some yoni steaming. Let's do some herbal tinctures. Like, let's just like clean your body.
Oh my goodness. You are the first woman. You are the first woman that has brought that up that I've spoken to, because when I started the journey of herbal medicine, I was managing a hair salon full time. I was a new mom. It's right when I started like my deep journey into like real health, like full alignment, heart, mind, body, soul, everything. And I went across the street from the salon, and there's this little, I forget what it's called, but he's like a medicine man. He's an herbal man, and he's 90 years old. And he worked in the Western medical field for like 30 years. It was his profession. And he is from Spain. His origins are from Spain. And he has all these holistic medicinal practices that his family embedded in him because it's how they lived. And he's like, he finally had an epiphany, like, why am I working for Western medicine who's just making the masses ill when I have the answers? And he opened this little shop. He imports all organic herbs, minerals, everything. And I went to him and asked him for some advice, because I'm like, I got nothing to lose. And obviously, you know, the origin of everything is what comes from this planet, what comes from the earth. And he gave me some advice of yoni steaming and herbal douching after our cycles. And I was like, this man is batshit crazy. Because
and you're just like, what the fuck?
Right.
I know, the first time I heard it, I was like, you want me to do what with my vagina? Like,
right. And
no. Right. Let me get the other direction. No, thank you.
So you mean I have to touch this thing that's down here in between my legs? What are you talking about? You know?
Right. No.
And I was at the time, I was like, okay, remain open, you know? And it was first like red flags, like, no, we don't do that. And then I'm like, no, obviously what I'm doing isn't working. And once he explained everything to me, it was like, it made so much sense. And we're so disconnected from ourselves, our bodies. Like, literally, it's this vessel. We're so disconnected from it that we question when it's turned back to us, you know? Like, you're the first person to bring that up, and hearing you makes me have faith, because that means that there's others also out there.
Oh my gosh, yeah. When I encountered it, it was through a woman who was in the like prenatal class that I was running. So it's like a mom support group for pregnant women. So beautiful. And she mentioned it, and I was just like, like, okay, I've heard of this thing before, and this is a different context, and that makes sense. And it was for postpartum recovery. So it's like after you had the baby, and doing that steaming to help clear the lochia, clear the blood out of clear that bleeding faster, keep your poop going, keep all your if you've had tears or rips or anything, help them heal faster. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense, and it's not as scary because that's already a challenging time. Makes
Right.
sense to me, right? So then I started looking into it more, and it's just like, oh my God, like I mean, since I started on the holistic health journey, like my periods have really changed. Become a lot easier. Like I used to be the woman or the young girl who was like pooping herself for like 3 days straight and like moaning on the bed and just like clutching my stomach, being like, dear God, like when will this end? And as a, then, sort of piece by piece, bringing things together, and it started getting lighter and lighter. And, since I had been in that journey, it had been a long time since they'd been really terrible. And I forgot that other women spend like 7 to like 12 days being like, is my period coming? Is it not? I'm a hormonal wreck. I'm a mess. I'm an emotional nutcase, like what's going on? It's like, gosh, we could just steam like 3 days before our periods and 3 days after our periods with the right set of herbs and a little bit of guidance. Like that can clear up in like a month or 3, depending on, how intense and weird your body's at right now. Combine nutrition with that, it's just like, like mind boggling, like how quickly that can really transform. And I got really excited about it. I started taking some training. You can take online training for vaginal steaming. Who knew?
What? There has to be
As well as
certification for everything nowadays.
There is, and I'm really glad she's doing it because it's really like I don't have a local woman that I can learn that from right now. So if I can learn it from a wise woman who's practiced on hundreds of other women through the internet, like I'm down for that. And the miscarriage thing is we mentioned that is really powerful with yoni steaming too, because so often people haven't actually miscarried. They've had clots or blood come out, but the actual baby is still inside of them. The body is potentially even still like putting nutrition into their body to try and nourish that baby, even though it's not alive. Even if the whole baby isn't there, there's parts of the baby still inside. We're wondering why women are dealing with intense grief. Why they're having cramping. We're wondering why they can't conceive another baby. There's still parts of that past baby potentially inside of them. The body can't conceive in that case. So we do, 30 days of steaming. We're releasing all of that matter. We're really like deep cleaning. Kelly Garza is the woman who runs the training that I took, and she says if you imagine you've got a stain in your clothes and you can't get it out, what do? You take it to the steam cleaner.
Absolutely. You literally just took that out of my mind.
It just like releases everything from your from the body. It cleans all of that stuff out. And there's like the glyphosate comes out, then we've got other tools to talk about taking the glyphosate out of the guts, which is another important place. But the uterus itself holds that, and just like letting that go, combined with some emotional release techniques, some loving support from other women, some high density nutrition so that you can then move into a journey of conception from a really supported place rather than like a junk food. Oh my God, I need to binge eat ice cream because I'm so sad. How am I ever going to conceive place? Like they're radically different paths, and one of them is going to get you the results you want and one of them is not, right? Or likely not to. I shouldn't say, because women conceive under all sorts of circumstances.
Right.
Important to acknowledge that. But definitely, in my mind, there's like an optimal way to get there for sure. And
absolutely.
It's based on...
And you know what the older gentleman who started that,
my tangent, that beautiful tangent.
The comparison he made to me was, if you were to have a wound, you would dress it, right?
Mm.
You need to do the same thing. You take a shower every day, right?
Mm.
And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. He's like, if your body is purging, right, once a month, why would you not dress it? Why would you not clean it? Why would you not help detox what it's naturally letting go of and releasing? And I was like, mind blown. And it's so simple. And the fact that it was so simple was what made me question it. But I'm like, the simplicity is just, you can't deny it,
Yeah.
And once we really start to talk about those things and embed that in our youth and especially in the youth of our women, we can save them from so many things: infertility issues, ovarian cancer, uterine cancer, as I say it. But so many of our reproductive issues as women, we can help so many people. And by embedding it in, like, I have a daughter now, like being able to teach her these things, it's like getting back to basics, you know, back to our origins. And from there, whenever she decides, or the universe or God decides that it's her time to create, then she'll be able to do the same thing. And that's how we, like, to think that it, for generations it will be embedded is like the raddest thing.
They're like, oh, we can teach our daughters, therefore they can teach their daughters. And you see this all the time listening to birth stories. I mean, you're probably not in this phase as much as I am, but like that preconception journey, it's like all the birth stories I can handle. Um, you know, it's just like, it's incredible. And you really see it in those stories. They go, what was your birth like? What did you hear about birth from your mom? Oh, my labor was 47 hours and the worst pain ever. Oh my God, what happens to those women? They have really long labors. It's really challenging. Oh, our whole family, myself, my mom, my grandma, we all have really short labors. That lady, she's got a short labor.
Right,
Hello?
right.
Hello? Like, the short, even if you don't have an easy labor, the way you choose to frame it, the way you choose to talk about it, like, for me, you know, a big part of my message is like this joygasmic living, like being on fire and excited about life, and having a joygasmic birth, a birth where after you give birth, you're like, oh, my baby.
Right.
Instead of the thing I did, which was like, get the fuck away from me, everybody.
Yeah.
What's happening? Why does my vagina hurt so much? You know, it's like radically different experiences.
Oh my
And
goodness.
it doesn't matter what kind of birth you have. Like, people have orgasmic births, joygasmic births, when they're supported, when they're able to focus on what's happening rather than distracted by all the stuff that's going on around them. And but the reason I brought that up is because we can reframe our experiences. When I started thinking about this more, and I talked to a beautiful woman, Deborah Piscali Bonaro, who created the Orgasmic Birth documentary. It's incredible. Mm-hmm. She talks about orgasmic birth as being anything where you felt any sense of pleasure at any point in your labor. Early labor is beautiful for lots of ladies. They're excited. They're, you know, it's just we lose that somewhere along the way. It's like, oh my gosh, looking back on that whole thing, it's like, oh, I had a strong, powerful labor. I was connected to my inner truth the whole way through, even if I didn't listen to it, you know?
Right.
It's like reframing it instead of being like, I gave my power to the system, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I knew what my power was. I chose not to exert it. I suffered the consequences. Wow. Now I know not to do that again.
Right.
What a different journey.
And that's where I am. Like, my son, my experiments with my experience with my son and my experience with my daughter were literally polar opposites. Absolutely polar opposites, because she was conceived during this journey of mine. You know, once actually like digging deep into this self-empowerment phase, I'll call it.
Yeah.
And I can literally pinpoint things like, okay, this I'm a product of the system because of this, I'm a product of the system because of this, and then completely freed with my daughter. And I want to have more children, rightfully, if I'm blessed with them, to see if I'm able to have like the full-blown, at-home, under the moon, in the element, you know, like I've been able to have two different experiences. I know the next one will be a completely different experience as I get deeper into my journey of self.
Mm-hmm.
And so many women are just a number. Get the epidural, pump them out, go home in 3 days. Look, are you sad? Oh, okay. But that's it. You know, they give you questionnaires when you go to the doctors, and it's, how are you feeling today? Can you laugh as much as you want to? Or are things gaining on top of you? And then it's just a questionnaire. Nobody really talks about it. Nothing's interpersonal. Yeah. And this is how we change the system. This is how we change the ways of modern living, is by doing exactly what you and I are doing, and talking about it and sharing it with the world, and letting everybody know that it's not voodoo, it's not witchcraft, it's not No, it's not taboo to talk about. Let's talk about this shit because this is how we heal our women. This is how we heal the masses. This is how we heal our children also. You know, it begins with us.
Give them a good blueprint. And I'd love to hear more because you mentioned your son and your daughters. You got two babies now,
Yes,
or
yes.
two? How old are they?
So my son is 2 and my daughter is a little over a month. He was born March
Hey.
22nd of 19 and she was born March 26th of 2021. So they're like 4 days, 2 years and 4 days apart. Yeah. Both Aries.
Yeah.
We have a lot of fire in this household. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
My son is so wild. Some days I'm like, okay, do I have all 10 toes? Do I have all 10 fingers? Okay, we're good. So crazy. But with my son, I really just listened to everything that the doctors told me. Like when I went in, they were like, "No, your birth date is this date. If your water doesn't break by 2 weeks afterwards, we're gonna induce you."
Yeah.
I went through that whole experience, and that was traumatic. That was
Yeah.
so traumatic.
Yeah. And baby birthdays are anywhere between like 36 weeks and 45 weeks. Just
Yes,
FYI, if anybody's like in
yes.
that journey and going like, how, I'm overdue. It's like, God, it's
No,
not a book. It's not going back to
no,
the library. It's like
no.
a conscious being who chooses it.
Absolutely. They come when they want to come. They come when
Yeah.
it's their time. And we're taught that it's a birth date when actually an elder of one of my friends who is Native American, in their culture, it's their birth month. Like the whole month you have to give birth, which is true. And with my daughter, and I mean, there was a lot of fear implemented in me with my son because it's like I so desperately didn't want to F anything up because it took me so long to get pregnant with him. And then with my daughter, it was like, okay, I'm completely in tune with everything that I am. And I had an outer body experience with her birth. It was so, oh my, I just got the chills. It was so rad. It was so rad. And I knew when it was her time and I honored it. And I didn't allow them to manipulate that. I didn't allow the doctors to manipulate that. And I really just allowed whatever she was bringing to be. And I was like, okay, girl, I'm just your vessel. Let's do this. Mommy's got you. And so many women are they're fearful of it because we're taught back to being talking about fear. We're taught that the intense feeling of active labor should be numbed. When if we're taught how to embrace it and how to utilize it and transmute its power, it's in our favor. It's for a reason.
Absolutely. It brings the strength you're going to need for all the patients you're going to need for the next 5 years,
Yep.
you know? Yep, you're saying it like you're right in it. I'm like, right? It's like, it forms you.
People are like, oh, are the terrible twos there? I'm like, the terrible twos don't live here. The trying twos live here. Because he's trying out the world. He's testing me. He's trying things. He's seeing if the cast iron pan is hot. He's seeing if he can test me if I say no X amount of times, how many times he can get away with it. Granted, so because that's what he's going to do in the real world, also. You know, so it's been such a beautiful journey, and it's been one that I'm so blessed to be a part of because so many people so many women are just in the beginning of that journey and they don't know that everything's gonna be okay. It's all gonna be okay.
It's all gonna be okay. Indeed. Yeah. Yeah, you get through it. And like here I am, he's 10 years old, he's like doing his own thing. He's wandering around in the woods, like let me show you.
I'll say, please let me see the woods.
Yeah, hold on. So see this, hold on. See like this tree right here?
Uh-huh.
That one's only maybe like 12 feet tall, something like that.
Okay.
My son was climbing 20 feet tall trees that sort of yesterday. And I just had to sit there and be like, I trust him. If I worry, I'm just going to cause drama. If I'm fearful and I put fear into the field, he might fall. Like,
Right.
don't do that. Just trust the journey. Just trust him. Like,
Don't
be there.
attract anything you don't want.
Yeah. And I'm like, he's having fun. He knows what he's doing. He's a wise kid. Like, he's been in nature his whole life. He's never climbed a tree that tall. It scared the crap out of me. But like, then it's like that same thing we just talked about birth. It's like I have the choice. I can either let that fear grip and not inside of me and cause me to be in anxiousness, anxiety, pain, panic, fear, cause me to get out of my like rest, digest, zen, happy space and into like panic and fear, impacting the field around me. Or I can go, hey, Alex, what are the things that I'm feeling anxious, so I can verbally address that. I go like, hey, what are some of the things you're doing to keep yourself safe? Because I'm feeling anxious. You're so high up. He goes, oh, Mom, I'm fine. I've got good grips. I've got gloves on so I don't slip. I've got my feet close to the tree. I've climbed big trees like this before. Don't even worry about it, Mom. I go,
Okay.
he knows what he's doing. I can let go. I can let go. I can just let go and let him be himself in his own field. I can go back to my conversation, which is what I really want to be doing,
Right.
instead of being anxious about it. And afterwards, we debriefed. I go, what did you learn about climbing trees in that experience? What was that experience like for you? What did you learn? What about being safe? Because he did end up falling down a tree, scraped his side a little bit, got some like branches up his nuts, like had some visceral sensations in the experience of falling down a tree. I was like, what'd you learn, buddy? What'd you learn? He's like, well, the branches are pretty soft and bendy, and like I can actually, I can handle it, and I could tell before it was gonna slide. I moved a little too far away from the center of the tree. He's like, great, now he's got that information. He can move forward.
I
He'll be
love
okay.
it. I can't wait to have those experiences with my son as he continues to just develop into who he is. And it's
Yeah.
so cool to just trust. And I think that's the most difficult part about being, or the challenging part about being um, a parent, is to trust that they know, because there's instincts, and we've kind of done a pretty good job at being a mother thus far, that I think they've got a solid foundation, you know?
Yeah. I mean, and that foundation comes from him being like 2 and on the beach. And I chose the beach specifically because it's a relatively safe environment where he can test, but he knew that water was scary. He went
Right.
under a couple times. I stepped on him once. I had to pull him out. Like, I was like, where'd he go? Shit. I'm like moving around. I step on him. I'm like, that was a head. Fuck, And it's like, gosh, like not my best parenting moment, but like I hauled him out of the water after
And
that.
he's
Goes,
alive.
he's alive. He learned a healthy respect for fearing the water. I learned if I'm looking for a child underwater, I should shuffle my feet instead of stepping.
It was a learning experience for the both of you.
Right? And then what do I learn? Oh, I learned I'm going to run after him if he's heading straight into the water. I'm going to take that precaution. If he didn't learn that lesson, I'm just going to take that precaution right off the bat, right? Because there are some places where we should step up and we should protect them.
Oh,
but like he also burned his, he like burned his hand on incense. Is like, gosh, he's got a healthy respect for the fear of incense now. And I think it's really, in the same way that by being in labor, we're like testing our metal, we're testing what we're made of, we're in that journey. Like, can I handle it? Can I transmute it? Can I surrender and let go of what I think this means? Because we're so often taught that like pain means death, pain means potential injury, pain means I should put something in my mouth or put something in front of my eyes so I'm not paying attention to the pain. And it's like, no, in labor, like you absolutely have to like lean into it and let go to it and surrender to it and just like let what's happening in your body happen. Like a runner who's like, holy shit, my legs are burning, but I just got to keep going because I'm going for that 42 kilometers or I'm going for that whatever,
Absolutely.
Like, it's a different association with pain. Same like, oh my God, the sound of a baby crying is an excruciating sensation when you feel like you can't do anything about it. How do you lean into that and offer love to that situation anyway?
Mm-hmm.
Labor will prepare you for that process of being a
Mm-hmm.
mother. You have to know how to center yourself even when the things around you are not centering. Like these are essential tools of mothering.
Absolutely.
Can't stop, cannot climb that tree fast enough to save my son
Oh,
because I will break the branches. I will hamper his ability to get down if I try and save him from that experience. He literally has to do it himself, right?
right.
Literally, I can't do it for him. And if we, I mean, I had to go through a whole process of like undoing things for him and letting him learn how to do it because I was a single parent. It was easier to just like do it for him than be
Right.
patient. I was a single parent with like mental health issues that involved
Right.
patience, right? So like that's a whole thing.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
such
There's so
tangents.
much. Like I could sit here and talk to you forever. Like I think just by like the flow of this, like everything is just going, 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 and
Mm,
it's a reminder that the shift that we all have felt, especially now more than ever,
mm,
during these times, that there's people making the same shifts and the same
mm,
leaps and the same bounds as we have as individuals, and we're not alone.
mm.
Oh my
No,
god.
and gosh, like my journey was absolutely accelerated by wise people who showed up on my path and me listening to them along the way. So if
Mm,
there are people watching this who are like, I'm in a conception journey and I can't seem to get pregnant and I'm considering IVF and it's so fucking expensive and what am I gonna do?
mhm.
It's like, well, there's less expensive things you can try. There are free things you can try. There are less
Right.
expensive things you can try. There are coaching packages and programs, and there's literally like hundreds of women like you and me in the world who have these wisdoms, maybe even thousands, maybe even tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of women
Yeah.
who have some part and portion of this knowledge. And we're all like, we want to share, we want to share, we
Oh,
want to share. We feel
I
so
just want to
inspired. We
like,
want to save you the
mm-hmm.
we want to save you the anxiousness of not knowing what the next step in the journey is and just be like, we've been there. We've
Right.
been, and if it isn't me, it's you. And if it isn't you, it's like somebody else in the
Right.
network. And like there's somebody for everybody to be the best mentor to figure that out. And thank God we don't have to be physically together to
Right.
find the right person because sometimes we live in, like, I live in a small ass town.
I love it.
There's
I
not
love
that
it.
many people. Live in the woods. It's not that many people here. I'm brand new here. I have yet to meet the wise woman. I know there's at least one wise woman on
At
Instagram with
least.
me right now.
At
At least.
least. I love it.
That's wonderful. Now, I'm curious. One of the reasons I wanted to get you on this call, and like, please let me know if we've got some sort of time constraint. I have
Okay.
a 10
I
year old who's
probably
a
have
small
another
baby.
like 10 minutes.
Right. So I want to hear specifically about your journey with that, like preconception to conception and what you did with your nutrition in terms of ultimate lifestyle transformation and all of that along the
Right.
way. Like, what has that been like? That was why I wanted to get you on the call, and you got me talking about all sorts of
All
other
this
things.
stuff. Um,
Yeah, all important.
so I consistently preconception. Um, I did a cleanse like every quarter of the year. I stayed on the core four and other things like the hair, skin, and nails, the cracked chlorella. I'm a CBD consumer, but I'm also a medicinal cannabis user, um, like during my cycle and stuff like that. And
Yeah, super helpful.
I
Vaginally,
live a,
super helpful.
oh my gosh, totally. Instead of,
Super
you know,
helpful.
when there are times of lows, you know, or high anxiety from our cycles. Um,
Yeah.
I live a organic lifestyle, obviously. I am vegan, and I really that's really like physical wise, that's what I did besides the yoni
Okay.
steaming and the herbal douching at the end of every cycle. Um, but spiritual wise, the act of intercourse was always intentional,
Mm,
always intentional. It was never how do I say it, like an ending driven, you know, like it was never
mm,
like, oh, he needs to come, I need an orgasm, that's it. No,
mm,
it was always intentional. And with my daughter, we
mm.
didn't plan her at all. We went to oh my gosh, why am I brain farting on the word or the name of it? Oh, Miracle Hot Springs. It's in Northern Cali by Bakersfield. and it's this natural sulfur hot spring on the edge of a riverbed. And I treated my husband for his birthday, just me and him. My mom watched our son, and we got a camper van, and we just spent the weekend there. We were under the moon. We were up late, naked in the hot tub. My husband was a little nervous. We went hiking during the day, and that's where she was conceived. And it wasn't intentional. Like it wasn't like, okay, we're gonna do it this day. I just flowed. I just allowed what was to be, and made sure everything that I was putting within my temple was intentional to my higher self. And when I reflect back on it, I know the exact moment she was conceived. The exact moment, which is why I named her Eli Grace, because Eli means ascension and Grace means light. So her name has more meaning than what a lot of people are conscious of. But that was really we weren't trying to conceive, but once I was pregnant, each trimester, there's specific products that was referred by Dave himself, does like for per trimester, and I stuck by them. I did them, and something that stuck out to me specifically that I was like, this is gold, was applying organic coconut oil from the vagina to like by the butthole. What is that? Perennial, whatever. Perineum. Thank you. Every day from the second trimester to even after postpartum, I'm still applying it to, my vagina, my belly, on my breasts, because it creates skin elasticity. And my daughter was 8 pounds, 13 ounces. And I pushed for 8 minutes with no contractions. And she came out and I had no tears. None. And with my son, I didn't do any of that. And I tore with him. And it was traumatic with him. And even now, I'm staying on the core 4. I crush my aminos to make sure, you don't have to, but to ensure that there's no like concentrated clusters of proteins in our breast milk, because it can be difficult for the infants to digest it. So I just do that for her, just as a precaution. And then I consume the barley with my power shake. And comparing my milk supply to my son, because with my son I started when he was like 3 months, and then with my daughter it's been from pre-conception to conception to post-conception or post-labor. And my milk supply is like, my nipples are on fire all day long. Like, get the milk out. Please get out of my body. And I'm just now starting my physical journey. So I'm on day 2 of the Ultimate Lifestyle Transformation. I have so much energy, just even with transitioning back to, because I eat most of the foods that are on the lifestyle transformation anyways, but obviously we get cookies here and there,
Homemade French fries are
right. And I am starting wood therapy to release and to detox all of the oh my gosh, why do I keep brain farting? It's kind of like the deep tissue massage, what that releases. I'm brain farting, oh my gosh. But it's like this long wood, it looks like a roller pin, like a massage, with like different shapes, and it releases the toxins that are within our fat, that is within our muscles, that's within our tissue, that we've held onto during our pregnancy. And what's with my son, I got the epidural, so it's going to help release all of what's stuck within my cells, my muscles, my tissue, my fat. and that's actually tomorrow, so I'm really excited to start that journey. But
Mm,
that's really all that I've done during this whole journey, and to compare how I feel. And I also encapsulated my placenta.
mm.
And hey, Ronnie, um,
Hey, Ron.
one of my girls is, you love
Yeah, we met
her.
on
Yeah, I'll
Instagram. Yeah.
connect you with everybody. There's amazing people. But to compare my postpartum emotional and mental state,
Mm,
it's like night and day. Just with the products, the Purium products,
yeah.
and living the lifestyle before
Mm,
preconception, living the lifestyle during, and living the lifestyle after, on top of really learning the significance of consuming our placenta,
mm,
is like, it's so simple and it's so basic, and we turn from it because we look for answers without, when the answers are within. And it's
mm,
literally night and day. I With my son, I had postpartum anxiety. And now that I look back at it, I definitely had postpartum depression slightly. When I
mm,
look at how I feel now to compare to then, and I feel like I didn't even give birth to, I didn't even give birth, to compare with my
mm.
son. Like,
I don't
it
have
was,
that.
it took me 8 months to feel normal with my son. With my daughter, it took me like 2 weeks, if that.
Beautiful. Yeah, it took me like 7 years and starting a health journey, straight
Dude.
up. Like I was a mess for like years afterwards.
And it's the journey, and the healing journey to get there is just the beginning, to
Mm,
preconception. The healing journey is the whole time, you know
yeah.
and it's been, I'm so grateful for me aligning with this movement and with this
Mm,
mission and this company, just strictly off the base of what it's brought to my life and the change that it's brought to my life. And
mm-hmm,
I'm literally I'm living proof that what it does, what it has to offer, what it has to bring to people. And everybody's
mm,
story is different, everybody's journey is different. And if we allow ourselves to trust and to let go, and to relearn, unlearn and relearn
mm,
what we truly want out of this life, and what is missing, because everybody has a little piece of something that's missing, and we're all on a
mm,
journey to find that. It begins with ourselves and what we're consuming in every capacity. Most importantly,
mm,
with what we're putting into our temple, because we're fueling ourselves, we're fueling our cells, we're fueling our heart, we're fueling our gut, we're fueling our minds, our souls. We're literally fueling everything about us. And how can we, like you said, how can we thrive in life if we're not fueling this beautiful temple of ours?
mm-hmm.
So I hope that answers your question about what.
Absolutely. I mean, it's incredible because I'm having this conversation with you. I'm realizing you're like a month postpartum.
Yeah, yeah,
A month postpartum. It's like I was a wreck. Like there was no like I'm gonna do an Instagram live with somebody like month postpartum, right? Never mind having a 2-year-old on top of that, and like A
oh.
plus for you on setting aside that time also because like good
He
on
fell
you,
asleep literally just before the live. I was like, thank you, God. Thank you.
right?
It
But
aligned
like literally
perfectly.
that journey just being like and to see you struggle so much with that like preconception with that like actually conceiving and having such a challenge with that and then to be in a place where your body is so nutrient dense where your body has everything it needs that less than 2 years later you're like starting that journey again spontaneously because you're just having a beautiful time. It's like
Yeah.
whoa, like that is a paradigm shift from like
Oh,
everything I could possibly do to get pregnant didn't work. Here's a tool and then boom, like you stick with that tool, you stick with that process, you're feeding your body in a way that's like supportive. Oh, like you think that makes sense. Like we put good
absolutely.
things into our body responds in good ways. We put junk into our body responds in challenging ways. And like thinking about like having that nutrition in your body and what that means in terms of losing weight after baby, that
Mm-hmm.
like you're putting huge high density nutrition into your body. That means your body has the capacity to detox all the cellular fats. You know, when we're pregnant, it's like anything that's toxic, it's going into those fat cells,
Right.
not only to have fat cells to feed our babies after postpartum, but
Mm-hmm.
also to like keep them safe, to keep those
Right.
fat cells out of our organs, out of the placenta, out of the baby, to
Mm-hmm.
keep those toxins out. So then, absolutely, to get them back out afterwards, we need to have like support. We need our liver needs support, our kidneys need support, our adrenals need support. You've got a 2-year-old, like your body needs support to be able to do that. And the difference that I've seen in terms of my mental health
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to nutrition, just cutting out those inflammatory foods and putting in like high density stuff, it's like it makes so much sense. It's like it works when
Absolutely.
we put things in. Like look at this ground around. Like the people who used to live on this land understood how to eat out of this forest. What
Right.
color is this forest? It
Oh,
is green.
I
It
love
is
it.
green.
It's
Everything in here
thriving.
is green. It is thriving. And there's all sorts of edible things in here that I have to learn about eating so I can like eat something other than dandelions because that's the only one I know.
You're like, it's the only one I can spot out.
Yeah. Hey, my son's here. Alex, come on over and say hi quickly. We're pretty close to wrapping up here, but
Yeah.
I was telling the story about you climbing trees.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Oh, and the doggy too. We got everybody.
Hi.
Yeah.
You
This is my
climbed a
gal.
tree? How tall was it? I'm too chicken to climb a tree. Maybe one time in my lifetime. Maybe I'll channel you.
Only if your intuition says it's a good idea. What did your intuition say about the trees? It said climb up.
Yeah. Here's this tree.
Sure.
I need to climb this. This looks like
Yeah.
I need to climb. It was so cute. A couple weeks ago, my son and I, we went on a walk, and there's this big tree in front of my neighbor's house. And my son's 2, right? He's learning how to talk, all these things. And
Yeah.
he looked at me and he said, Mama, hug. And I was like, you want Mama to give you a hug? And he said, no, tree. And I was like, you want to hug the tree? And he totally hugged the tree. It was so cute. So
So what?
it's a reminder that the intuition, or how they speak to us, is its purpose, and it's we have to listen to it. Uh-oh.
Yeah. Alex is playing with filters. This is what he does. This is what he does when we jump on calls together. He's always playing stuff. You're messing with my call quality though, bud. So funny.
That's the fun part about all this.
Yeah.
But it's been so much fun talking
Oh,
with you
incredible.
and connecting with you, and we should definitely, I'd love to do a live strictly based off of you, and I'm going to connect you with my girl Lacey. You and her would just totally hit it off, like true reflections of each other completely. So I'll send you her Instagram, and I'll send her yours also, because she's just a divine woman.
Thank you.
In every capacity.
I super appreciate that. The more we can share the journeys and the stories, like we heal by sharing our stories, we'll heal by sharing, listening to those stories, and yeah,
This has
absolutely.
really
It's
changed
just
the
an
world
incredible journey.
by us and the power of what we hold. So thank you so much for connecting.
Yeah.
All right, I will see you
Yeah.
later.
Thank you.
And then have fun climbing
Yeah.
trees, bud.
Next time, fun time. Alex says, "Can we get some hearts before we go?" Yeah, they're
And
in
you
the
got
second
him.
top there.
Yeah, you got him.
Ronnie's been peppering us with some hearts, and yeah. And for those of you who are joining in late, like the whole conversation was just stellar all the way through. So absolutely go back.
Yes, I'm gonna post it on my feed, and I'm gonna tag you in it so you can repost it also. So whoever joined in late, if you guys want to go back and watch it from the beginning, you guys will have the ability to do so. All right.
Yeah, and I'll put it up on the podcast.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Gosh,
we'll talk with you later.
Bye.